The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy and destiny. But what happens when something arrives that exists entirely outside that web? A warrior whose power flows from within, untouched by midichlorians, unconcerned with the eternal struggle between light and dark. The twin suns of Tatooine blazed overhead as such a warrior fell from the sky, leaving only questions and a crater in the dune sea that would change everything. The impact registered on moisture farm sensors for 50 kilometers. Lars Homestead's ancient equipment flickered with readings that made no sense. No ship signature, no distress beacon, just a massive kinetic event that scattered sand like a detonated thermal detonator. Owen Lars muttered about Republic-era junk satellites finally deorbiting as he returned to his vaporators. But young Luke Skywalker watched the distant dust cloud with fascination. Something in his chest pulled toward that crater, though he couldn't explain why. At the impact site, Goku pushed himself out of the sand, spitting grit and blinking against the harsh double sunlight. His orange GI was torn, his body aching in ways that felt wrong. The instant transmission had gone catastrophically wrong during his spar with Vegeta. One moment he'd been dodging a final flash on King Kai's planet. The next he was tumbling through something that felt like the space between dimensions. Now he stood on a desert world under two suns, and something fundamental felt different about this place. He tried to power up, calling his ki to the surface. The familiar golden aura flickered weakly around him, sputtering like a damaged lamp. Goku's eyes widened. His energy was still there. He could feel it, coiling in his center, but manifesting it felt like trying to punch through mud. The air itself seemed to resist, thick with some invisible energy he'd never encountered. Not malevolent, just present, everywhere, pressing against his ki like an opposing magnetic field. Okay, that's new, he said to the empty desert, testing his limbs. Strength was still there, speed too, but diminished. Maybe 60, 70%? The twin suns beat down on him with wavelengths that felt subtly wrong against his scion cells, like eating food that almost tasted right but had some indefinable difference. His body was already adapting. He could feel it working, but for now, he was weaker than he'd been since he was a kid. A strange howling echoed across the dunes. Goku turned to see figures cresting a nearby ridge, humanoids wrapped in sand-colored cloth, riding large four-legged creatures with shaggy fur. They carried what looked like rifles, but designed with an aesthetic he'd never seen. Crude, almost primitive, but functional. The lead rider raised one of the weapons and fired. The energy bolt sizzled past Goku's ear. He blinked in surprise. Hey, what was that for? More shots followed. Goku moved, his combat instincts overriding confusion. Even weakened, he was still fast, faster than anything these raiders had ever seen. He blurred between the bolts, closing the distance to the nearest rider in a heartbeat. The Tusken Raider barely had time to register movement before Goku appeared beside his banda, tapping the rifle barrel and bending it into a U-shape with casual pressure. I don't want to fight, Goku said, raising his hands peacefully. I'm just lost. Can you tell me where? A Gatterfee stick swung at his head. Goku caught it one-handed, and the vibroblade edge that should have cleaved Skull simply stopped against his palm. The Tusken warrior pulled with all his strength, but the weapon wouldn't budge from Goku's grip. More raiders charged, howling their distinctive battle cries. Goku sighed. He'd hoped to avoid this, but some things were universal across universes. When people attacked, you defended yourself. He moved through the Tuskens like wind through sand, disarming, disabling, never killing. A tap here sent a raider flying backward into a soft dune. A swept leg there toppled a banda gently. Within 30 seconds, a dozen sand people lay groaning in the sand, confused and defeated by an opponent who barely seemed to try. The last Tusken standing, the chieftain, judging by the more ornate wrappings, lowered his weapon slowly. He barked something in a language Goku didn't understand, but the tone was clear, respect mixed with fear. The warrior gestured at the horizon, then at Goku, then made a braking motion with his hands. A warning. Yeah, I get it, Goku said, nodding. Sorry about your friends. They'll be fine in a bit. He squinted at the endless desert in all directions. You wouldn't happen to know where I could find some food, would you? I'm starving. The Tusken chieftain stared at him for a long moment, then pointed toward a direction Goku's senses told him had more life signatures, distant but concentrated. A settlement, maybe. The raider mounted his banda, called to his scattered tribe, and they retreated across the dunes, occasionally looking back at the strange warrior who fought like a great dragon but showed mercy like a fool. Goku watched them go, then started walking in the indicated direction. His stomach growled audibly. Whatever this place was, whatever had happened to his powers, he needed answers. And food. Definitely food. The twin sons continued their arc across the pale sky as a Scion warrior began his journey across Tatooine, unaware that his arrival had already sent ripples through the force that would reach the darkest corners of the galaxy. In orbit above the desert planet, an Imperial Star Destroyer adjusted its sensors, flagging an unusual energy signature for investigation. In the shadows of Mos Eisley, a Hutt's informants whispered of a warrior in strange orange clothing who moved like lightning. And far away on the Death Star, an old man in a black mask suddenly turned his head, sensing something impossible through the force, a void where a living being should be, yet somehow radiating power that defied every principle of the cosmic energy field he had spent decades mastering. The desert wind carried sand across Goku's footprints, erasing the evidence of his landing. But nothing would erase what was coming. The Empire, the rebellion, the criminal underworld, and powers far darker than Goku could imagine were all about to learn that sometimes the greatest threats or the greatest hopes came from beyond the stars themselves. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The moisture farm appeared as a cluster of domed structures shimmering in the heat haze, looking nothing like any buildings Goku had seen before. He'd been walking for what felt like hours, his Scion endurance keeping him going despite the brutal heat and the strange weakness still affecting his ki. The twin suns had shifted position but showed no signs of setting, leaving him to wonder if this planet had normal day-night cycles or if he'd landed somewhere with extended daylight periods. As he approached, a woman emerged from one of the domes, shielding her eyes against the glare. She froze when she spotted him, her hand moving instinctively towards something at her belt. A weapon, probably. Goku raised his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Hi. Sorry to bother you, but I'm really lost in Owen," the woman shouted, backing toward the homestead. "Owen, we've got a stranger." A stocky man with weathered features appeared, holding what Goku now recognized as one of those energy rifles. Behind him, a younger blonde man, barely more than a teenager, peered out curiously. The older man kept the rifle trained on Goku, but didn't fire. Good. These people had more sense than the Sand people. "I don't want any trouble," Goku called out, stopping about 20 meters away. "I just need some directions. And maybe some food if you can spare it. I can work for it. I'm really strong, well, usually stronger than this, and I can help with whatever you need." Owen Lars studied him with the suspicious eyes of someone who'd lived on Tatooine long enough to know that strangers meant complications. "You're not dressed like anyone from around here. That's some kind of flight suit? Where's your ship?" "About my ship." Goku scratched the back of his head sheepishly. "I don't exactly have one. It's complicated. I kind of just appeared here. By accident." Appeared. Owen's expression hardened. "You're either crazy, lying, or you're involved in something I want no part of. Baru, get Luke inside." "Wait." The younger man, Luke, stepped forward despite his aunt's protests. "Uncle Owen, look at him. He's not carrying any weapons, and his clothes are all torn up. What if he really is lost?" Goku felt a flicker of something strange from the boy. Not ki exactly, but a different kind of energy, potential waiting to be awakened. It was faint, untrained, but unmistakably there. That same energy he'd felt pressing against his ki since he arrived, but concentrated somehow in this teenager. "I really don't mean any harm," Goku said, meeting Owen's eyes directly. "Back home, I'm a martial artist. I protect people. I know I must look strange, but I promise I'm just trying to figure out where I am and how to get back." The standoff stretched for several heartbeats before Baru Lars put her hand on her husband's arm. "Owen, when's the last time the Empire cared about how suspicious they looked?" And those HUD enforcers don't ask politely. Maybe he's telling the truth. Owen lowered the rifle slightly, though his finger stayed near the trigger. You said you're strong. Prove it. That vaporator over there has been stuck for 2 days. Regulator seized up, and it's too heavy for the lifter to move by myself. You get it working, we'll feed you and point you toward Mos Eisley. That's the spaceport. Only place you're going to find answers about getting off-world. Goku brightened immediately. Deal. Just show me what needs doing. The vaporator was a massive, cylindrical device that looked like it weighed several tons. The regulator mechanism was indeed jammed, requiring the entire upper assembly to be lifted while someone worked underneath. Owen had rigged a repulsor lifter to help, but even with the anti-grav assistance, it would normally take 3 men to safely position it. Goku gripped the assembly, planted his feet, and lifted. The vaporator rose smoothly, held steady by arms that barely seemed to strain. Owen's eyes widened. Luke's jaw dropped. Even with his power diminished, Goku's psion strength was far beyond human normal. Okay, that's good. Owen stammered, grabbing his tools and diving under the machine. Just hold it steady. No problem. Goku called down cheerfully. Take your time. This isn't heavy at all. Well, it is heavy, but I've lifted way heavier stuff. There was this one time. Vegeta and I had to hold up a collapsing tournament arena while. Who's Vegeta? Luke asked, fascinated. My rival. Well, friend and rival. It's complicated. He's a scion like me. But he's got this whole pride thing going on, and Goku paused, noticing Owen had stopped working and was staring up at him. Sorry, am I talking too much? Chi-Chi always says I do that. You're holding a 5-ton vaporator with no assistance and having a casual conversation. Owen said slowly, what exactly are you? I'm a scion. We're a warrior race from planet Vegeta. Or, well, we were. The planet got destroyed when I was a baby. Goku's expression dimmed slightly. At the old memory. I grew up on Earth. That's home for me now. Never heard of either of those worlds. Owen muttered, returning to his work. And I've seen star charts from here to the core. Yeah, I'm starting to think I'm really far from home. Different galaxy maybe? Or something weirder. Goku adjusted his grip as Owen maneuvered a replacement part into position. This energy that's everywhere here, what is it? It keeps pushing against my ki when I try to power up. Luke stepped closer, intrigued. Energy everywhere? You mean the Force? If that's what you call it, sure. The Force. It's like, imagine trying to swim, but the water is pushing back in all directions. Not hostile, just present. Owen emerged from under the vaporator, wiping his hands. All right, you can set it down now. Gently, Goku lowered the massive device with perfect control, setting it in place without even a tremor. The regulator hummed to life, and condensation immediately began forming in the collection tubes. Owen stared at it, then at Goku, then at the vaporator again. That would have taken me 3 days with help from Anchorhead. He admitted grudgingly. You did it in 5 minutes. Happy to help. Goku grinned his trademark smile. So about that food, the meal was simpler than what Goku was used to. Some kind of bland protein strips, moisture farmed vegetables, and blue milk that tasted strange but wasn't bad, but he devoured enough for 5 people while the Lars family watched in amazement. Between bites, he asked questions about the galaxy, learning about the Empire, the destroyed Jedi Order, and the nature of the Force. So these Jedi could move things with their minds and see the future? Goku asked, fascinated. That's kind of like King Kai's techniques. And the Sith use their emotions for power? That sounds a little like the Kaioken, but darker. You shouldn't talk about Jedi so openly, Owen warned. The Empire hunts anyone connected to the Force. Luke, go check the South Ridge sensors. But Uncle Owen. Now, Luke. The boy left reluctantly, clearly wanting to hear more. Owen leaned forward, his voice dropping. Listen, whoever you are, whatever you are, you can't stay here. That strength of yours, it'll draw attention. The Empire doesn't like questions, and the Hutts don't like competition. You want to get off Tatooine. You go to Mos Eisley, find a smuggler, and get out before someone important notices you. Why would anyone important notice me? Goku asked innocently. I'm just a martial artist who got lost. Because strong fighters either end up working for Jabba the Hutt, hunted by the Empire, or dead, Baru said quietly. Sometimes all 3. This isn't a galaxy where being special keeps you safe. It makes you a target. Goku absorbed this. his expression growing serious for the first time since arriving. Back home, strength meant you could protect people. Here, it seemed strength just made you a commodity or a threat. The rules were different, and he was starting to realize that his usual approach, find the strongest guy and challenge him to a fair fight, might not work in a place where fairness was a luxury few could afford. A distant rumble made everyone freeze. Owen rushed to the window, cursing under his breath. Swoop bikes. Probably Jabba's enforcers checking the trade routes. They come here? Goku asked. They go everywhere. Collecting protection. Credits from anyone who can't protect themselves. Owen's hand found his rifle again. Usually they leave us alone if we don't make eye contact. But with you here, the swoops crested a dune, at least 8 of them. Riders clad in mismatched armor and carrying heavy blasters. They circled the homestead like hunting Nexu, their engines whining. The lead rider, a massive Nikto with cybernetic implants and a scar across his face, killed his engine and dismounted. Lars, he bellowed. You've got a visitor. Jabba wants to know about any strangers, especially ones who can bend steel with their bare hands. His spies see everything on Tatooine. Goku stepped outside before Owen could stop him. I'm the visitor. These people don't have anything to do with me. The Nikto's yellow eyes studied Goku, noting the torn orange GI, the wild hair, the relaxed stance that somehow suggested coiled readiness. You the one who made sand people run scared? Jabba's interested. Mighty Jabba always needs warriors. You come with us, meet the Great Hunt, and maybe you get rich. Maybe you get famous. You say no. He patted the blaster at his hip. We convince you. Goku's friendly expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture, subtle. But the Nikto had seen enough fighters to recognize a predator's stillness. I'm not interested in working for this Jabba person, but I don't want to fight you either. Just let me leave peacefully. The enforcers laughed. Peaceful? On Tatooine. The Nikto drew his blaster. Wrong galaxy, stranger. The shot came fast, but Goku was faster. He sidestepped the bolt, appeared in front of the Nikto before the enforcer could track him, and tapped 2 fingers against the blaster. The weapon crumpled like foil. The Nikto stared at his destroyed gun, then up at Goku's apologetic smile. Sorry about that, but you shouldn't shoot at people. It's rude. 7 more blasters rose, targeting Goku from multiple angles. The enforcers had stopped laughing. Owen grabbed Luke, pulling him back inside the homestead. Baru sealed the door, but Goku could sense them watching through the viewport. Last chance, the Nikto growled. Come with us, or... Goku moved. To the enforcers, he simply vanished. One moment he stood before their leader, the next he was among them like a ghost. Blasters fired where he'd been, hitting empty air. Goku tapped each enforcer in turn, precise strikes to shoulders, wrists, pressure points. Chi-Chi had taught him when she insisted he learn proper martial arts. Within seconds, 7 enforcers lay groaning on the sand, their weapons bent or crushed, nursing injuries that would heal but hurt like hell. The Nikto backed toward his swoop bike, his bravado evaporated. You just made a big mistake, stranger. Nobody refuses Jabba. Nobody embarrasses his people. I didn't want to embarrass anyone, Goku said honestly. But I also can't let you hurt these folks or force me to go somewhere. I don't want to go. Tell your boss I'm just passing through, okay? The Nikto mounted his swoop and gunned the engine, not bothering to help his fallen comrades. Jabba will hear about this. Mark my words, you just signed your death warrant. As the swoop disappeared over the dunes, Goku turned back to find the Lars family standing in the doorway, staring at him with expressions mixing awe and horror. We need to get you to Mos Eisley, Owen said, his voice tight. Tonight. Because by morning, every bounty hunter, enforcer, and hired gun on this planet will be looking for you. You just made an enemy of the most powerful crime lord in the Outer Rim. Goku scratched his head sheepishly. I really do that a lot, don't I? Luke stepped forward, his eyes shining. That was incredible. How did you move so fast? Can you teach me? Luke, no. But Goku saw something. In the boy's expression, a hunger for something more than moisture farming. A desire for adventure and purpose. He'd seen that look before, in Gohan's eyes before his son learned to fight. In his own reflection, back when he was young and the whole world seemed full of possibilities. Maybe someday, Goku said gently. But right now, I need to figure out where I am and how to get home. My family's probably worried sick. As night finally fell on Tatooine and the twin suns set beyond the Dune Sea, a landspeeder raced toward Mos Eisley, carrying a Scion warrior who had no idea that across the galaxy, dark powers were already mobilizing. The Force had taken notice of the impossible void in its fabric, and those who commanded the darkness were not pleased. In Jabba's palace, a crime lord's rage echoed through stone halls. In an imperial facility, an inquisitor's eyes snapped open as she felt something wrong in the Force, a disturbance that defied explanation. And somewhere in the black void of space, a dark Lord of the Sith turned his meditation toward a desert planet he had once called home. Sensing prey unlike any he had encountered in decades, the hunt had begun. Mos Eisley spaceport sprawled across the desert like a cancerous growth, a hive of scum and villainy that made even the roughest parts of West City look civilized. Goku stood at the entrance, taking in the chaotic mix of species, the smell of exotic fuels and unwashed bodies, the constant hum of languages he couldn't understand. Creatures with tentacles, fur, scales, and stranger features moved through the dusty streets. Overhead, ships of every configuration lifted off or descended, their engines creating a constant roar. Stay close and keep your head down, Owen had warned before dropping him off at the outskirts. Find a cantina, ask about smugglers heading coreward, offer to work for passage, and for the love of the Force, don't pick any fights. Goku had nodded earnestly, though both of them knew his track record with that advice was questionable at best. The streets pressed in around him. Too many people, too much noise, too many hostile stares. Several rough-looking characters marked him immediately as an outsider, their hands moving toward weapons before thinking better of it. Something about the way Goku moved, despite his friendly demeanor, suggested he was far more dangerous than he looked. He found a cantina easily enough, a dark, crowded establishment filled with suspicious patrons and a house band playing music that somehow felt both alien and familiar. The bartender, a Wookiee with graying fur, grunted something unintelligible when Goku approached. Hi. I'm looking for someone who can give me a ride off planet. I can pay. Well, actually, I don't have any money, but I'm really strong. I could guard cargo, or help with repairs, or... The Wookiee roared something that didn't sound encouraging and turned away. Several nearby patrons chuckled darkly. Aradian leaned over, his multifaceted eyes glinting. You're fresh off the moisture farms, aren't you? Nobody works for free passage anymore, not with Imperial inspections. And nobody trusts muscle without reputation. The Rodian's snout twitched. Though I hear Jabba's putting out word about a human in orange who embarrassed his collectors. That you? I didn't mean to embarrass anyone, Goku said honestly. They were being pretty aggressive. I'm just trying to get home. Jabba doesn't take no from off-worlders who damage his property. The Cladoinian cracked his knuckles, cybernetic enhancements gleaming in the dim light. You come quiet. Maybe you only lose a hand. You fight, and we drag what's left of you to the palace in pieces. The cantina went dead silent. The band stopped playing. Every patron suddenly found their drinks fascinating. This was the moment where smart people stayed out of hut business. Goku stood slowly, his expression still friendly but his voice firm. I really don't want to fight you, but I'm not going anywhere I don't want to go, so maybe we can just... The Cladoinian's fist, augmented with hydraulic enhancements, rocketed toward Goku's face with enough force to shatter stone. Goku caught it effortlessly, his fingers wrapping around the cybernetic knuckles. The enforcer's eyes widened as he tried to pull back, but his arm wouldn't budge. See, this is why I keep getting in trouble, Goku said apologetically, squeezing just enough to make the Cladoinian gasp. I ask nicely, but people keep wanting to fight. The four thugs raised their blasters. Goku released the Cladoinian and moved, not with his full speed, but fast enough. He disarmed the first two thugs with precise strikes, bent the third's blaster barrel with a flick of his fingers, and caught the fourth's energy bolt barehanded, the plasma dissipating against his palm with a hiss of surprise from every witness. Did he just? Someone whispered. Nobody catches blaster fire. The Cladoinian recovered, charging with a roar. Goku sidestepped, tapped the enforcer's spine with two fingers, and the massive alien crumpled like a puppet with cut strings, paralyzed but unharmed. The technique was one Master Rashi had taught him years ago, Precise and temporary. He'll be fine in an hour, Goku told the stunned thugs. But maybe tell Jabba I'm not interested in working for him. I'm sure he's great and all, but I've got a wife and kids waiting for me back home. He turned to leave, but the cantina doors slid open too, reveal a figure that made even the hardened criminals stiffen. The Rodian who'd warned Goku muttered a curse in Huttese. The woman was striking, pale skin, bald head marked with red tattoos, yellow eyes that seemed to pierce through matter itself. She wore dark robes reminiscent of the Empire, but with subtle differences. And at her belt hung a cylindrical device that made something in Goku's gut twist uncomfortably. The air around her felt wrong, thick with the same force energy he'd been sensing, but twisted, corrupted somehow. Well, she said, her voice smooth as silk over steel. When the disturbance in the force led me to Tatooine, I expected a hidden Jedi, perhaps an artifact. I did not expect. She studied Goku with unsettling intensity. You? Hi. Goku raised a hand in greeting. I don't think we've met. I'm Goku. I am seventh sister, Inquisitor of the Galactic Empire. She stepped into the cantina, and every patron who could find an exit suddenly remembered urgent business elsewhere. And you, Goku, are an impossibility. The Force flows through all living things. Yet in you I sense nothing, a void. And yet you radiate power that defies the Force's very nature. Goku scratched his head. Yeah, a couple people mentioned that. I'm not from around here. Different galaxy, I think. Or maybe universe. I'm still figuring it out. Different universe. Seventh. Sister's lips curved into something that might have been a smile, but held no warmth. Fascinating. Lord Vader will be most interested in studying you. Lord Vader? Is he strong? Goku's eyes brightened with genuine interest. I've been sensing something really powerful ever since I got here. But it's distant. Like a huge key signature, but made of this Force stuff instead. The Inquisitor's expression flickered. Surprise, then calculation. You can sense Lord Vader across star systems? Impossible. Even the strongest Force sensitives can barely. It's not that hard, Goku interrupted. I mean, it's different from sensing ki. But once you get used to it, you can kind of feel where the strong people are. There's something really big and dark in that direction. He pointed vaguely spaceward. And something smaller, but really pure and hidden. Somewhere around here, actually. Seventh Sister's hand moved to her lightsaber. You sense another Force user on Tatooine? Where? I don't know exactly. It's faint, like they're hiding or don't know they're special yet. Kind of like how Gohan was before we started training. Goku's expression turned serious. But that's not important right now. You said something about studying me? I'm going to have to pass on that. I need to find a way home. The Inquisitor ignited her lightsaber, a spinning double blade of crimson energy that hummed with lethal promise. The few remaining patrons dove for cover. You misunderstand. The Empire doesn't make requests. You will come with me for questioning, or I will bring Lord Vader your corpse. Either way, we will learn your secrets. Goku looked at the spinning blade with genuine curiosity. That's pretty cool. It's like a sword made of energy. Can I try it? What? Seventh Sister's confidence faltered at the complete absence of fear in his voice. After we're done, I mean. If we have to fight, I want to do it right. Fair and square, full power. Goku dropped into a fighting stance, his friendly demeanor shifting into focused intensity. Though I should warn you, I'm still getting used to this place. And my ki isn't working at full strength yet. So if I seem weaker than you expected, that's why. The Inquisitor attacked, her spinning blade a whirlwind of death designed to overwhelm opponents with unpredictable angles and momentum. The Force augmented her speed, her precognition giving her split-second awareness of enemy movements. Against any normal opponent, the fight would have ended in seconds. Goku dodged the first strike with minimal movement. His martial arts instincts, reading her body language faster than her Force-enhanced reflexes could compensate for. The second strike he blocked with his forearm, the lightsaber blade hissing against his skin but not cutting, his ki instinctively forming a barrier despite the Force interference. The third strike he caught between his palms, holding the plasma blade still through sheer will and energy control. Seventh Sister stared in horror. That's impossible. Lightsabers cut through anything. You should be cut in half. Yeah, probably, Goku agreed, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort of maintaining his ki barrier. But where I come from, we learn to focus our energy defensively. It's similar enough to work here, just harder. Like lifting weights in higher gravity. He pushed, and seventh sister stumbled back. Her connection to the Force screaming warnings she couldn't interpret. This opponent moved with impossible skill, fought with techniques no Force user had ever demonstrated, and seemed completely unaware of how terrifying he truly was. She reached out with the Force, attempting to crush his throat or hurl him against the wall. The invisible energy closed around him, pressed against his aura, and stopped. Goku tilted his head, feeling the attempted attack like pressure against his ki. Are you trying to push me with that Force stuff? I can feel it, but it's like trying to move a mountain. My ki is way denser than. Seventh sister fled. Years of Inquisitor training. Dozens of successful Jedi hunts. And every survival instinct she'd honed screamed the same message. This wasn't prey. This was an apex predator playing with its food. She burst from the cantina, racing toward her TIE Advance parked at the spaceport, her mind already composing the report she'd send to Lord Vader. Goku watched her go, confused. Did I say something wrong? I was just trying to explain how it works. The cantina remained silent for 5 full seconds before erupting into chaos. Patrons scrambled over each other to escape. The Wookiee bartender roared something that might have been a blessing or a curse. The Rodian who'd warned Goku earlier grabbed his arm. Are you insane? That was an Inquisitor. She'll come back with Star Destroyers. With Lord Vader himself. His eyes were wide with terror. You just assaulted an agent of the Empire. I didn't assault anyone, Goku protested. She attacked me, and I defended myself. Where I come from, that's totally reasonable. Reasonable. The Rodian laughed hysterically. The Empire doesn't do reasonable. They do overwhelming force and examples made of entire planets. He released Goku's arm, backing toward the exit. Get off Tatooine. Get off now. Because when Vader comes, and he will come, everyone around you dies. As the cantina emptied, Goku stood alone amid overturned tables and scattered drinks, finally beginning to understand the galaxy he'd stumbled into. Back home, strength meant protection. Here, strength meant you were either a tool of oppression or a target for destruction. There was no King Kai to train under, no Dragon Balls to wish away mistakes, no Shinron to bring back the casualties. Outside, the twin suns set again, and somewhere in the vastness of space, an Inquisitor's urgent transmission reached a black fortress. Lord Vader received the report, listened to the impossible description, and felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Curiosity. The message reached Darth Vader aboard the Executor as he meditated in his pressurized chamber. Seventh Sister's report played through his private comm, her voice carrying an edge of fear he'd rarely heard from the usually composed Inquisitor. Impossible to predict through the Force, my lord. He exists as a void, yet radiates power that defies all understanding. He caught my lightsaber with his bare hands. The Force itself cannot touch him, as if he exists outside the cosmic order entirely. And he sensed your presence across star systems, my lord. He knew you were there. Vader's breathing apparatus filled the silence as the message ended. His gloved hands rested on his knees, but beneath the mask, his scarred face twisted with intrigue. In all his years serving the Emperor, hunting Jedi, and crushing rebellion cells, he had never encountered anything the Force could not touch. Even the most powerful Force-dead beings like the Yuzin, Vong existed within ancient legends, not walking openly on outer rim desert worlds. Lord Vader, his admiral's voice crackled through the intercom. The Inquisitor requests immediate reinforcements on Tatooine. Shall I dispatch? No. Vader's voice was absolute. I will handle this personally. Set course for Tatooine. Maximum speed. At once, my lord. As the Executor's massive engines hummed to life, adjusting heading toward the desert planet Vader had once called home, the Dark Lord stood and ignited his crimson blade. The Kyber crystal sang with corrupted Force energy, a weapon that had ended countless lives. If this stranger truly existed outside the Force, then he would learn that the dark side had ways of destroying what it could not control. But something else stirred in Vader's thoughts, something he hadn't felt since before Mustafar, before the suit, before the Emperor's chains. Anticipation. The possibility of a true challenge. Not another terrified Jedi or undertrained rebel, but someone who might actually test him. He crushed the feeling immediately. Such thoughts led to the weakness that had cost him everything. There was only the dark side, only the mission, only the Emperor's will. Yet even as the Executor jumped to hyperspace, Vader's mechanical breathing quickened ever so slightly. Goku sat on a rock outcropping overlooking Mos Eisley, watching the spaceports. Chaotic traffic while eating something, called a Banda burger, he'd traded a broken swoop bike for. The twin suns were rising again, apparently. This planet had short nights, and he'd spent the hours of darkness trying to meditate and center his ki. Progress was slow but real. His energy was responding better now, adapting to the pervasive force energy like his body had once adapted to King Kai's 10 times gravity. He could feel his power climbing back towards 75, maybe 80%. Not full strength, but enough to feel more like himself. What troubled him more was what he'd sensed during meditation. That massive dark presence he'd mentioned to the Inquisitor was moving, and moving toward Tatooine. Fast. Whatever. It was possessed power unlike anything he'd encountered in this galaxy so far. Not god level like Beerus or anywhere near Jiren, but concentrated and refined in ways that reminded him of a master martial artist. Technique and discipline rather than raw, overwhelming force. You're him, aren't you? Goku turned to find a figure approaching across the rocks, a man in worn desert robes, his face hidden by a hood. But Goku's senses registered the same faint, pure energy signature he'd mentioned to Seventh Sister. This was the hidden force user he'd detected. I'm Goku, he said, offering a friendly wave. You are. The man lowered his hood, revealing an older face with kind eyes and a graying beard. I am Ben Kenobi, though I once had another name. He studied Goku with an intensity that reminded him of Master Roshi evaluating a new technique. You've caused quite a stir in less than a day. Jabba's bounty hunters are mobilizing. The Empire is sending Star Destroyers. And according to my sources in the spaceport, you defeated an Inquisitor without breaking a sweat. I didn't defeat her, Goku corrected. She just kind of ran away before we could really fight. I was hoping to see what she could do at full power. Kenobi's expression shifted, surprise mixed with something else. Recognition, perhaps, of a familiar recklessness. You speak of combat with an Inquisitor the way younglings speak of practiced droids. Either you're supremely confident or dangerously naive. Maybe both. Goku grinned. Master Roshi used to say I never took threats seriously enough. But where I come from, if you don't test yourself against strong opponents, you never get stronger. Where you come from? Kenobi sat on an adjacent rock, moving with the careful economy of an old warrior. The Force whispers strange things about you, Goku. That you shouldn't exist. That you're a hole in the fabric of reality where a being should be. Yet here you sit, eating and breathing and radiating a power that isn't the Force, but somehow mirrors it. Goku swallowed his bite of Banda burger. Yeah, everyone keeps mentioning that. My power is called Ki, life energy that all living things have. Where I'm from, some of us learn to control it. Use it to fight and fly and shoot energy blasts. It's kind of like this Force stuff, but different. Show me. Goku held out his palm and concentrated. Even weakened, even fighting against the Force's pervasive interference, he could still manage the basics. A sphere of blue-white energy formed above his hand, crackling with contained power. Kenobi leaned forward, fascinated. Remarkable. It's not the Force. I would sense it if it were. Yet it clearly draws from your own life essence. The Jedi have no technique like this. He paused. The Jedi had no technique like this. The sadness in those last words made Goku's expression soften. The people I met told me the Empire killed the Jedi. Were you one of them? Once. A lifetime ago. Kenobi watched the energy sphere dissipate. I failed my student. He fell to the dark side and became the Emperor's enforcer. The Empire's greatest weapon. Lord Vader. Goku's eyes widened. That's the dark presence I sensed. The really powerful one heading this way. He's your old student. Was my student. Now he's more machine than man. Twisted by the dark side. Kenobi's gaze sharpened. And he's coming here for you. The Empire doesn't tolerate unknowns, especially ones that frighten their Inquisitors. You need to leave Tatooine immediately. But I don't have a ship. Goku stood, stretching. And honestly, I'm kind of curious about this Vader guy. If he's as strong as I'm sensing, maybe he could help me understand this galaxy better. Maybe even find a way home. Vader doesn't help anyone. He destroys, corrupts, and kills. That is all he knows now. Kenobi stood as well, his hand resting on something at his belt, a cylindrical device similar to what the Inquisitor had carried. If you face him, you will die, or worse, he'll bring you before the Emperor. And that creature will find ways to use your power that you cannot imagine. I've faced corrupt rulers before, Goku said seriously. Frisia, Cell, Majin Buu, beings who destroyed planets for fun. I couldn't beat them all by myself, but I found a way. I always find a way. This isn't about strength alone. Kenobi's voice rose with urgency. The dark side isn't just power. It's corruption, manipulation, seduction. It turns your own desires against you. Even the strongest Jedi fell to its whisper. Goku met the old man's eyes. Then it's lucky. I'm not a Jedi. I'm just a guy who likes to fight and protect his friends. And I don't know if I can be corrupted by something. I can't even feel properly. He paused, his tone gentling. But I appreciate the warning. Really, you seem like a good person. Before Kenobi could respond, a shadow fell across them. Both looked up to see a massive Imperial Star Destroyer emerging from hyperspace above Tatooine, its triangular hull blocking out the stars. Smaller ships detached from its hangars, TIE fighters, landing craft, and a single black shuttle that descended with clear purpose toward Mos Eisley. He's here, Kenobi whispered, and Goku heard genuine fear in the old man's voice. Vader has arrived. The black shuttle landed in Mos Eisley's main plaza, stormtroopers pouring out to secure the area. Citizens fled as the Empire's presence transformed the lawless spaceport into a military occupation zone within minutes. Then the main ramp lowered, and a figure emerged that made even hardened criminals freeze in terror. Darth Vader stood over 2 meters tall, clad in black armor that seemed to absorb light itself. His breathing apparatus created a rhythmic, mechanical sound that echoed through suddenly silent streets. His helmeted head turned slowly, scanning the spaceport. And when his gaze settled on the rock outcropping where Goku stood, even at that distance, Goku felt the weight of that attention. That's him, Goku said, not with fear, but with the excitement of a martial artist recognizing a master. I can feel it now. His power is so focused, so refined. It's not like the Inquisitor's wild energy. It's disciplined, controlled. That control is what makes him deadly, Kenobi warned. Goku, please, run. I'm begging you. But Goku was already walking down the rocks toward the spaceport, not running away, but toward the confrontation. Every instinct that had driven him since childhood. The scion desire for challenge. The martial artist's need to test himself. The protector's duty to face threats directly pulled him forward. Vader sensed his approach, felt the impossible void in the Force moving with purpose toward him. The Dark Lord's hand moved to his lightsaber as stormtroopers raised their rifles. The entire spaceport held its breath. Goku stopped 10 meters from Vader, close enough to see his own reflection in the black helmet's surface, close enough to feel the dark side energy, rolling off the Sith Lord like heat from a furnace, close enough to sense the conflict buried deep beneath layers of hatred and pain, a man trapped in armor, in a destiny he'd chosen but now couldn't escape. Hi, Goku said with his characteristic friendly tone. You must be Vader. Your student, Kenobi, said you were really strong. I can feel it. You've refined your power in ways I haven't seen anyone in this galaxy do yet. Vader's breathing was the only sound. Then, slowly, his mechanical voice emerged. You are the anomaly, the void in the Force. I guess so. I'm not from around here. Goku smiled. But since you came all this way, want to spar? I've been dying to test myself against someone at your level. Just a friendly match. No killing or anything serious. The silence stretched. Then Vader's hand closed around his lightsaber hilt, and crimson light blazed to life. Foolish. The word carried the weight of absolute certainty. Vader raised his free hand, and the Force itself became a weapon, crushing. Pressure that would have flattened a building descended on Goku's position. Goku's aura exploded outward, golden light flickering as he pushed against the telekinetic assault. The ground cracked beneath his feet. Stormtroopers were thrown back by the clash of energies. And for the first time in years, Darth Vader felt his Force grip fail against an opponent who simply refused to be moved. Okay, Goku said, his voice strained but excited as his eyes flickered between black and teal. Now we're talking. The battle for Tatooine had begun. Vader moved with the fluid precision of a master duelist, his lightsaber cutting arcs of crimson death through the air. Each strike came from angles calculated to overwhelm, enhanced by decades of experience and dark side precognition. Against any Jedi, any rebel, any warrior in the known galaxy, the fight would have ended in seconds. Goku blocked the first strike with his forearm, ki flaring instinctively to reinforce his skin. The plasma blade hissed against the energy barrier, unable to cut through. He ducked the second strike, feeling the heat pass over his wild hair. The third he caught between his palms again, holding the lightsaber still while Vader's mechanical breathing quickened with something that might have been surprise. "Your weapon is incredible," Goku said, sweat beading on his forehead from the concentration required. "The energy is so compressed, so refined, like a keyblade but stabilized with technology." Vader's response was to channel the Force through his blade, amplifying its cutting power. Goku felt his ki barrier weaken, felt the plasma edge beginning to press through. He released the blade and backflipped away, creating distance. "You're really strong," Goku said, settling into a defensive stance. "But I should warn you, I'm still adapting to this galaxy. My power isn't at full capacity yet. If we fought when I'm back to normal, it would be way more interesting." "Your power means nothing," Vader's mechanical voice intoned. "I have defeated beings who commanded the Force itself. You are merely an anomaly, an error to be corrected." The Dark Lord extended both hands, and the Force became a maelstrom. Buildings groaned as invisible pressure tore at their foundations. Speeders lifted from the ground, spinning toward Goku like missiles. The very air compressed into crushing waves. Vader drew on decades of rage, pain, and loss, channeling the dark side with the totality of his being. Goku's aura exploded in response, not gold yet, his transformation still hampered by the Force interference, but enough raw ki to match Vader's telekinetic assault. The speeders stopped mid-flight, suspended between opposing powers. The ground beneath both fighters cracked into spiderweb patterns. Stormtroopers fell to their knees under the pressure, their armor creaking. High on his rock outcropping, Obi-Wan Kenobi felt the battle through the Force and remembered another time. Another place, when he'd faced his fallen student on Mustafar. But this was different. Then, he'd fought with the weight of failure and desperate hope. Now, watching a stranger match Vader's power with something entirely outside the Force, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Possibility. In Jabba's palace, the Hutt crime lord watched through remote sensors, his curiosity overriding his anger. In the executor above, Imperial officers scrambled to make sense of their instruments showing impossible energy readings. And across the galaxy, in his throne room on Coruscant, Emperor Palpatine sat forward, feeling through the Force a disturbance unlike any in his long, dark existence. Vader and Goku clashed again, lightsaber meeting ki-enhanced strikes in bursts of light and sound. Goku's martial arts, perfected through battles with gods and demons, flowed like water, each movement economical and precise. Vader's Form V mastery, brutal, overwhelming, designed to dominate, met its match in an opponent who had trained under masters across universes. "You fight well," Goku admitted, breathing hard. "Better than most people I've faced. Your technique is flawless." "Your compliments are irrelevant," Vader responded. But his breathing had quickened. The anomaly wasn't tiring. If anything, he was growing stronger as the fight progressed, adapting, learning. Vader recognized the pattern from his own training. This was a warrior who thrived in combat, who pushed beyond limits through adversity. It reminded him of someone he'd once been, before the suit. Before the dark side consumed everything good in Anakin Skywalker. He crushed that thought immediately and attacked with renewed fury, augmenting his physical strikes with Force lightning channeled through his blade. The dark side energy crackled across Goku's defenses, and for the first time, the Scion warrior grimaced in pain. "That stings," Goku gasped, his ki barrier sparking where the lightning struck. "It's like your energy is trying to corrupt mine from the inside." "The dark side destroys all it touches," Vader stated. "Surrender now, and your death will be swift." "Sorry, but I don't really do surrendering." Goku's expression hardened with determination. "And I definitely don't let people destroy things I care about. My family, my friends, They're waiting for me back home. I'm getting back to them, and nobody's stopping me. His aura pulsed, pushing back against the dark side energy. Vader felt it. Raw determination untainted by hatred or fear. Pure willpower that existed entirely outside the Force's framework. It was antithetical to everything the dark side represented, and yet it matched the Dark Lord's power through sheer stubborn resolve. Impossible, Vader breathed. Nothing resists the dark side through will alone. Where I come from, will is everything. Goku dropped into the stance. Master Roshi had taught him decades ago. Kami, blue light gathered in his palms. He coalescing with the same principle as the Force, but fundamentally different in execution. Vader sensed danger, felt his dark side precognition screaming warnings. He raised his lightsaber defensively and channeled the Force into a barrier. Kami, the energy built, compressing, intensifying, even weakened. Even fighting against the Force's interference, Goku could still manage this, the signature technique he'd used in 1,000 battles. The Kamehameha erupted from his palms. A beam of pure blue-white ki that lit up the Tatooine sky. Vader's force barrier met it. Dark side energy clashing with life energy in a collision that shattered windows across. Mos Eisley. The beam pushed against Vader's defense, driving the Dark Lord back, his boots carving furrows in the sand. For 3 heartbeats, the clash held. Then Vader's barrier cracked, and the beam struck him directly, sending him flying backward through the wall of a cantina. Stormtroopers scattered, their weapons forgotten. The Black Shuttle's pilots fired up engines, preparing for emergency evacuation. Goku lowered his hands, panting heavily. The technique had drained more ki than expected, fighting against this galaxy's strange physics. But he'd made his point. He'd proven that Vader, powerful as he was, wasn't invincible. The rebel shifted. Vader emerged, his armor scorched but intact, his breathing labored but steady. The Dark Lord had been thrown across a street, slammed through a wall, and hit by energy that would have vaporized a lesser being. And he still stood. Now you're getting serious, Goku said, his battle-worn face splitting into a genuine smile. This is what I was hoping for. Vader ignited his lightsaber again, but something had shifted in his stance. The overwhelming confidence had cracked, replaced by calculation. This opponent wasn't prey, wasn't even an equal threat. This was something Vader had only faced once before, during his brief encounter with Luke on Simon 1, when he'd sensed potential that reminded him painfully of his former self. But this was worse, because unlike Luke, this warrior had no connection to the Force, no destiny Vader could manipulate, no dark side whispers he could exploit, just raw, incorruptible strength that grew stronger with every passing moment. Lord Vader, a stormtrooper captain's voice crackled over the comm. Shall we commence orbital bombardment? We can level this sector. No. Vader's voice cut through the suggestion. Withdraw to the executor. All units. Now. My lord, that is an order. As stormtroopers scrambled to their transports, Vader faced Goku across the ruined plaza. Through his helmet's visual sensors, he studied this impossible warrior, bloodied but unbroken, exhausted but smiling, treating a battle with a Sith Lord like a sparring session with a respected opponent. You are stronger than the Inquisitor reported, Vader admitted. And you grow stronger as we fight. A scion trait, you called it. Yeah, we get stronger after every tough battle. It's kind of our thing. Goku wiped blood from his lip. But you're amazing too. Your control, your technique. I haven't fought anyone with that kind of disciplined power in a long time. Flattery will not save you. The Emperor will want you brought before him. You will be studied, dissected, understood, and then destroyed. Or, Goku said, his voice taking on an edge it hadn't held before. I could just keep getting stronger until nobody can force me to do anything I don't want to do. That's usually how it works out. Vader felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Force. This wasn't a boast. It was a statement of historical fact from a warrior who had clearly overcome impossible odds before. The Dark Lord had survived through calculating threat levels, knowing when to retreat and return with overwhelming force. And every instinct honed through decades of warfare told him the same thing. This opponent would only become more dangerous if given time. You have earned a temporary reprieve, Vader said, backing toward his shuttle. But the Empire is vast. We have weapons that can crack planets, fleets that can blockade star systems. You are one being. We are Legion. I've heard that before, Goku replied. From an alien warlord named Frisia. He had an empire too, ruled through fear and overwhelming force. He paused. Want to know what happened to him? Vader didn't answer. He boarded his shuttle, and it lifted off, leaving Mos Eisley in shocked silence. As the Executor prepared to jump to hyperspace, Darth Vader stood in his meditation chamber, replaying the battle through his mind, analyzing every moment. The Emperor would demand a report, would want this anomaly captured or killed. But Vader found himself hesitating, considering options he hadn't entertained in years. This Goku represented something unprecedented, power entirely outside the Force, strength that existed beyond the Emperor's perception or control. And for the first time since Padme's death, Vader felt something other than rage and despair. He felt uncertainty, and buried beneath layers of dark side corruption, something that might have been hope. As the Star Destroyer vanished into hyperspace, Goku collapsed onto a pile of rubble, his body finally registering the toll of the fight. Obi-Wan Kenobi appeared from the dispersing crowd, moving quickly to the Scion's side. That was either the bravest or most foolish thing I've ever witnessed, the old Jedi said, but his tone carried something like awe. You fought Darth Vader to a standstill. I wouldn't say standstill, Goku corrected, wincing. He was holding back near the end, testing me. I could feel it. He looked up at the sky where the Executor had been. He's scary strong. And that darkness around him. It's not evil exactly. It's more like pain. So much pain, he turned it into power. Kenobi's expression grew distant. You sense that? The Jedi Council once told me Anakin, Vader, was too attached, too emotional. I failed to see that those emotions could have been his greatest strength, if only guided properly. Emotions aren't bad, Goku said, struggling to sit up. Anger, love, fear, they're all part of fighting. The trick is not letting them control you. He grinned weakly. Though I'm not great at that either. I get way too excited during good fights. A familiar voice called out from nearby. Goku. Luke Skywalker pushed through the crowd, his young face lit with amazement. That was incredible. You actually fought Darth Vader. Luke, get back to the homestead, Kenobi said sharply. This area isn't safe. But Ben. Now, Luke. The boy retreated reluctantly, though he kept glancing back at Goku with obvious hero worship. Kenobi watched him go, then turned back to Goku. You've created a significant problem, the old Jedi said quietly. The Empire won't stop. They'll return with more forces, different strategies. And you've put everyone on Tatooine at risk by drawing their attention here. I know. Goku's expression turned serious. That's why I need to leave. Fast. Before more people get hurt because of me. He looked at Kenobi intently. You said you were a Jedi? Does that mean you know about the Force? Maybe how it connects universes or dimensions? The Force is the energy between all things, binding the galaxy together. But dimensions? Kenobi shook his head. That's beyond even the ancient Jedis. Understanding. Though, he paused thoughtfully. There were rumors of the world between worlds. A realm outside space and time where all moments exist simultaneously. If such a place exists, it might be reached through the Force. Then I need to learn about the Force, Goku said decisively. Not to use it, I don't think I can sense. I don't have those MIDI things everyone mentions. But to understand it enough to find this world between worlds place. That knowledge died with the Jedi Order. Not all of it. Goku studied the old man carefully. You're still here. Still connected to the Force. I could feel it. You're strong. Ben. Maybe as strong as you used to be. Just hiding it. Kenobi was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled, sad and knowing. You're perceptive for someone who claims to be just a simple martial artist. My wife says I'm oblivious to everything except fighting, Goku admitted. But I'm good at sensing people's true strength. And you've got plenty of it, even if you're pretending to be just an old hermit. Before Kenobi could respond, a holographic projector activated nearby, one of Jabba's public broadcast notes. The Hutt's massive slug-like form materialized, his gravelly voice booming across the spaceport in Huttese. Translated by protocol droids. The mighty Jabba offers a new bounty. 1 million credits for the warrior called Goku, delivered alive to the palace. Dead bounties worth half price. Let it be known, Jabba. The Hutt does not forget those who embarrass his organization. 1 million credits? Goku whistled. Is that a lot? Enough to buy a small moon, Kenobi said dryly. Every bounty hunter in the sector will be coming for you. As if on cue, the distinctive sound of a jetpack echoed overhead. A figure in green and red Mandalorian armor landed 20 meters away. A blaster rifle trained on Goku with professional precision. The helmet's T-shaped visor reflected the twin suns, giving nothing away. Boba Fett, Kenobi murmured. The best bounty hunter in the galaxy. Goku stood slowly, testing his key reserves. Maybe 60% recovered, enough to fight if necessary. The Mandalorian warrior studied him silently, then spoke through his helmet's modulator. You fought Darth Vader and survived. Interesting. Fett's rifle didn't waver. Jabba wants you alive. The Empire wants you studied. Me? I just want the credits. Come quietly and nobody else gets hurt. I really can't do that, Goku said apologetically. I need to find a way home, and getting captured kind of interferes with that plan. Fett's helmet tilted slightly. Everyone says something like that. Then I collect my bounty anyway. His finger moved toward the trigger. Goku tensed, preparing to dodge. Kenobi's hand moved to his hidden lightsaber. The crowded spaceport held its breath, waiting for violence. Then the sky split open with thunder. A massive dimensional rift tore through reality above. Mos Eisley, purple and black energy crackling at its edges, looking nothing like hyperspace or any known phenomenon. Through it, voices echoed, distorted but familiar to Goku's ears. Kakarot, can you hear me? Goku, Dad, are you there? Vegeta's annoyed growl and Gohan's worried shout pierced the dimensional barrier. Goku's eyes widened with joy and relief. Vegeta, Gohan. He cupped his hands around his mouth, shouting toward the rift. I'm here. I'm okay. Finally, Vegeta's voice came through clearer. Your son wouldn't stop whining about finding you. We've been searching dimensional frequencies for hours. Thanks, guys. Goku felt tears pricking his eyes. His family hadn't given up. Of course they hadn't. The rift stabilized slightly, just large enough for something to pass through. Gohan's voice called out. Dad, we can't hold it open long. You need to fly up and jump through now. Goku gathered his ki, preparing to launch himself skyward. Then he paused, looking back at Obi-Wan Kenobi, at the destroyed spaceport, at the strange galaxy that had challenged him in unexpected ways. I hope you find what you're looking for, he told Kenobi. And that kid, Luke? He's got incredible potential. If you ever train him, I bet he'll be amazing. Coming from someone who fought Vader to a standstill. I'll take that assessment seriously. Kenobi smiled genuinely. May the Force be with you, Goku. Even if you don't believe you need it. May the Force be with you too, Ben. Goku's aura exploded golden, finally achieving Super Saiyan as his body fully adapted to the twin suns' radiation. The transformation sent shockwaves across Mos Eisley, flattening speeders and sending every being to their knees. Even Boba Fett stumbled backward, his rifle falling from nerveless fingers as he witnessed power that defied every combat algorithm. In his helmet's targeting system, with a final wave to Kenobi and an apologetic nod to Fett, Goku rocketed skyward, a golden comet tearing through Tatooine's atmosphere. He reached the dimensional rift, felt the pull of home, and dove through. The rift collapsed instantly, leaving only dissipating energy and a stunned galaxy in its wake. In the Executor's meditation chamber, Vader felt the disturbance in the Force, the sudden spike of unimaginable power, then its equally sudden absence. The anomaly was gone. Whether dead, captured, or escaped, he couldn't tell. The Force offered only silence where the void had been. But something had changed. Vader had faced an opponent who existed entirely outside the Emperor's control, who fought without hatred or ambition, who wielded strength that grew through challenge rather than corruption. It was everything the dark side claimed was impossible, everything the Jedi said could only come through the Force. And it had been real, deep within the prison of his armor, in the broken remnants of what had once been Anakin Skywalker. A tiny ember of something thought long dead flickered weakly.